Global app testing provides customers around the world with a variety of different applications, with testing services and access to an exclusive crowd provided by Testerwork, a community of over 50,000 testers worldwide. Today, we're going to be discussing exploratory tests, how to approach them, manage the risks associated, best practice, and some of our panelists' most memorable stories from taking part in them. We have a panel of 5 people here today, a mix of some of our very own testers, as well as our in-house team of test managers and community managers, providing hopefully both sides of the coin on this conversation and covering everything from the test setup through to execution. First of all, we'll start with some introductions from our panel before getting straight into the discussion. So, introductions. Who wants to start?
I think that would be me. So, hello everyone, my name is Bogdan and I'm a test manager here at Global App Testing, specialized in projects that are a little bit more complex in terms of goal-meeting necessities. I've been on the team for almost 4 years now, which may seem like a long time for some, but due to the vast range of projects, there will always be a constant challenge of adapting and perfecting your craft, which makes the time spent to be significantly shorter.
Yes, thank you. Laurencio?
Hello guys, I'm Laurencio. I've been working for Global App Testing as a test manager since 2017, so almost 4 years. Meanwhile, I was promoted as senior test manager, and my job here is to put the customer requirements together with testers and deliver the best results we can for our customers.
Awesome, sounds good. Putra, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Putra. I am one of the QA on the tester work. I already worked 3 years in the test work from start to now, and I'm climbing slowly, and I'm already in the elite ranking now. I'm still trying to get better and get more experience in the testing environment, which is many kind of app that the tester work support. That is from me.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Fabulous. And then our other tester, Kahio.
Hello, my name is Cahyo. I'm from Indonesia. I'm a tester. I joined here since maybe 3 years ago. Happy to work here.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a tester community manager. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing everything regarding recruitment and support for the testers.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, let's get straight into the discussion. We'll start really simple. What is an exploratory test with global app testing, and what are the major milestones? Laurencio, how about you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I can give you like a definition about an exploratory test. It's a type of test, unguided test of an application, which helps developers and engineers to find bugs instantaneously, bugs which can have a huge impact on end users. Exploratory testing is very fun from my perspective, because you got the chance to play with an application which was not yet released to the end users. My own definition for exploratory testing is take it and break it. So you put your hands on an application, based on your experience, you try to break an application just to test it from every angle to find flaws.
Hopefully they don't break too much. Bogdan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me, an exploratory test is generally the place where all the good bugs are found, since it definitely showcases the strengths and cleverness of every tester participating. From a setup perspective, it requires the least amount of effort to facilitate out of all the testing methods, but also has the highest chance of failure. Having an unclear testing scope, or not providing enough or providing too much information, are factors that might ruin the entire test. For me, the scariest part is within the first 10 to 15 minutes of starting the test, because that's where I get to see the first bugs that have been submitted, and only then I can really check if I've delivered the message correctly and the testers are delivering the results that we actually need.
It must be quite a nerve-wracking 10 to 15 minutes, I imagine. Okay, how do you guys go about approaching a new ET request?
Yeah, I can take that. Basically, we are receiving a request from our customers. Customers send the request like we want to do an exploratory test for our next release of the application. Our customer provides a set of requirements, starting from what we should test in the application, which countries, which regions, what devices, what OSs, what browsers. And this is sometimes the requests are very difficult, not because we do not have enough information, but they are very specific to the location and to the devices which the customers prefer to test. And we rely a lot on our recruitment team, in which they always jump to help us in finding the matching testers for that project.
It must be very handy. Bogdan.
Yeah, exactly. And also there are different methods each test manager uses for approaching a new request. My personal favorite one is ignoring it right off the bat, because that's only because I'm performing the first thing I do is performing the smoke test of the app or build, just to make sure that there are no blockers on the core flows, because you wouldn't want to start an exploratory test without performing a smoke test on it. And the first issues that the tester would submit would be a 100% reproducible crash. So these issues are generally flagged within the first 20 minutes of receiving the request, and only after that the real preparation for the test starts.
Sounds like a sensible way to start. Laurencia, since you mentioned the recruitment team, it'd be good to bring in Lara, the community manager, and hear your thoughts on this.
My thoughts. Well, in theory, any exploratory test would be the simplest to set up. It would be very easy because we do a simple query, a filter in the database. We search, like Laurentiu said, for the country the tester is in, the language they speak, if needed, the device they have, and the operating system. And the query simply returns a list of testers we have to invite. We send a task to them. But in practice is another story. Like nowadays, almost every test cycle has a wild request. Most of the times what we need to do is we need testers to be available immediately, but coordinate with almost 50 other testers across all the different time zones. That's a challenge. Recently, we needed testers that were able to call other testers using the app, but to be located in different countries. At one point, I remember 2 years ago, I think, we were testing a gaming app that's similar to Pokemon Go, that you have to walk and catch monsters. And we tested specifically in Churchtown, the city in New Zealand, where the day before they had a mass shooting and the entire country was in lockdown. So we had to somehow convince testers to test, but also keep in mind their safety. Sometimes we even stumble upon unexpected blockers. Most of them are differences in culture. For example, I remember a US client, they wanted us to test their dating app, pretty simple for them. But testers in more conservative countries wouldn't even use real data to sign up, or wouldn't sign up not even with test accounts. Not to mention when we have to test apps showing some adult content. Well, when we're testing in highly religious communities, these testers refuse the task completely. Or for example, when we need them to test the sign-up flow and they need to use real ID data or even a pictures of themselves, a selfie, or a physical address so we can send them a real device to test on. Those are the dropout risks I'm facing. But in my experience for the last years, what worked best in all these situations is communicating. If we make sure that the testers have all the necessary information, that they understand why we need that information from them, what are we going to do with that information, what purpose it's serving, then they comply much easily. So we make sure to We make sure they know whom to contact and whom to ask questions, and we give them environments to contact us through email, through a support system, through Slack, even through phone calls and video calls. Why not? It's happened before. But most of all, they need to know that we're here to answer all their questions and we're honest and authentic. In my opinion, that's the best solutions to anything. If we're being ourselves in the interaction with testers, then testers also feel comfortable and they tell us what they can test, what they cannot test, and most importantly, why. So I think the most important job we do here in the community is make sure we build a good relationship with the testers.
There are a lot of things there that I would never have considered going into preparing an exploratory test. So I guess what happens when all these preparations are complete and you're ready to start? Laurencio, like what happens next?
Of course, we have a lot of preparation done before, but once we have the tester from our recruitment team, that's for us as test managers is just easy part. Like we just add the tester to our internal tracker, and we notify them about the test cycle has started, and they can begin to test the application. So once we have the testers and we created our internal documentation and inform the testers can start testing and they can submit bugs and they can try to break the application, find bugs for our customer.
Awesome, that sounds fun. Bogdan, similar?
Well, for me, this is where the role gets really exciting, because since you now have switched from a test manager position to one of a NASCAR flagman, which gives you the start of an actual testing race. Well, after the start, the hat is unfortunately switched back on, and the monitoring begins, since, as previously mentioned, the first minutes or the first bugs submitted are the most important ones.
I can imagine. Putra, it'd be great to hear from you. What happens when you receive that invite finally appear in your inbox?
Firstly, I will make sure that sorry, I have some wrong. After I receive the invitation, first I will accept the invitation, but it's kind of the hard part on the invitation since it's going to be race against time for accepting it. After I accept it and I got joined in it, then the first thing before I do the test, since after accepting it, it's going to be there's going to be a countdown before it started. I will open it and read the documentary on the tester pack and try to understand the app based on what is the test, based on what it is described in the tester spec. What is the app function? What is the main function of the app? Or if it's not a new project, then I will try to understand what is the new feature of the app I need to be tested. After that, I will prepare my device and I make sure that the device is on and available, and also the connection is good, or I might do some things that the connection need to be tested. After that, I will wait till the test starts. That's how I do it. After I am checking or get invited in the test. Thank you.
Awesome. Fabulous. Kahio, did you have anything you wanted to add about what you do when you receive an invite? Like, are there any steps that you go through?
And for me, after I receive the invitation and while waiting the project starts, I do some small preparation, including charging my device, clearing some data, prepare the recorder apps, and the other third-party things. And most importantly, I do make a coffee.
I can imagine the coffee is the most important part sometimes. Fabulous. Okay. And how do you approach testing during an ET? Like once you're ready to go, what happens next? Putra, yeah, how do you approach testing during an exploratory test?
I will try to download the app and try to install the app. If it's cannot be downloaded or cannot be installed, then I will report an issue, and then if it's still not getting moderated quickly, I will ask for Zendesk support to get some info about it. So it might be sometimes it's kind of takes long to get the reply, but after that, usually it gets provided and fixed quickly. After that, I will continue the test and continue doing the test according to what Brian in the spec and what is the focus up, what is the focused scope of the test. That is for the how I'm starting the test. Thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine making sure you understand the scope is important, so you don't test something totally different. Kahio, once your coffees manage to get into your system, how do you approach testing during exploratory test?
For me, it's maybe similar with Putra, but the difference is maybe if I have a problem, maybe I just ask directly to the test manager using email or using Skype for the faster response. For that,
Nice.
after I get the answer, I will start the testing, find the bug in scope, and submitting the bug. That's it.
Perfect. Nice and simple. It's always the best way to go. I have to ask, what are the best bugs that you have both found on exploratory tests? Kahio, did you want to go first? Like, is there any bugs that really stick in your mind that are some of
This
your
issue
best?
is of course maybe a long time ago. This issue is about when I edit my name and using exactly two random numbers, the app will freeze. So I think it's unique because it's only occurs if I use two number, and when I use normal alphabet, it's fine. So it's unique for me.
Oh wow, that does sound like an incredible one. Putra, do you have anything similar?
No, I not really testing on the character of the words or textbook since it's kind of many combination. Usually I'm only using the general part for that. But for the bug that I found kind of awesome for me is bug about when I testing a games and it was progressing and reach some point. If I restart the game, well, it's in saving state or in still in progress. The save state is going to be partially broken, and that will make the resource on the game is exploitable. I could gain many items and keep regaining again and keep claiming again, even after I get rich, very rich, and I still continue the game. And there is no deleting or no removal of the item for that. That's kind of awesome for me. And if that is kind of missed, I will play the game.
That
Now
sounds
that's a
quite
game
fun.
I want to play.
I would agree, Laura. That is definitely a game I want to play. One where I don't need any skill. Just let the bug do it for me. Okay, so now we've gone through kind of bugs and the test setup. How you guys have all mentioned moderation. Where do we even begin with that? Lamentio, do you want to take us through?
Yeah, sure. So once the cycle has started, an exploratory cycle has started, and we start to moderate bugs, when I start to do this process, first I try to get myself familiar with the specificities of the project, of that particular project. I install the application myself on one device, or if it's a website, I open the website and I try to create an account myself to get familiar with the application. Then I go to all the bugs to have like a big picture, big view of them, which one are criticals, how many bugs there are for a specific section, maybe something broke there. And I just start to open each bug, read it, try to understand it, and based on scope of the test, I accept them or I reject them.
Yes. Bogdan, how do you approach your moderation?
Well, adding on to what Laurentiu said, there's also like specific requests that are dictated, like the requests are dictated by the moderation, meaning if there's a specific issue that the project targets and it would want as many entries for it as possible, we would then accept every issue from that section, which we would normally mark as duplicates in our standard exploratory twist. What I personally look for in a bug is a good use of English and easy to understand steps to reproduce, not very complicated description, and also together with the attachments containing videos, logs, screenshots, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Laurentia, do you have anything to add about some of the best practices you have to make sure you get the good stuff in your bugs?
Yeah, sure. So there are some elements of the bug which are mandatory and we want them to be like properly written by our testers, starting with the summary, with the reproduction steps, actual expected results, and all the particular details for that project, ending with the attachments. For me, I think there are two elements when I look at a bug, a single bug, there are two elements which are very important for me. One is the summary, because if you have a clear summary, can be understood by anyone just with one single read. You just read the summary. Basically, you know what's the problem with the application or what that bug wants to explain. Also, the overall bug, you have to imagine that we want that bug report to be understood by anyone, so not just by QA people or people who know the application. So it's very important when you write a bug to imagine that, hey, who's going to read my bug? That person will understand what I try to explain here. That's why we have to have clear steps and clear information. As I said, summary is very important, and video as well, because in the video you have to cover basically everything you said in the description of the bug. You have to start with the fresh launch of the application, showing each step you describe that it's seen on your video. Also, there are some recommendation I can give to testers when they recording videos. Always try to keep it as short as possible, but try to have like reproduction steps seen in your video. Another tip regarding the videos is about not having multiple actions unrelated with the bug itself. So a bug is, for example, a crash happened in profile. Don't show anything in the video like things which are not related to the bug. Just open the app, go to profile, show that the bug is a crash. And another one is, if it's possible, somehow to point with showing tabs or showing cursor which buttons you clicked and what action you did in the application, for us to be easier to identify, hey, what exactly was tester doing on that screen. And I think this is for me, summary and video for me as a test manager are the most important things in a bug report.
Yeah, I can imagine there are some challenges there. Bogdan, did you have anything to add about like the challenges you face sometimes when moderating?
Well, pretty much Laurentiu covered them all. As you mentioned, summary and a short description and a good one are key of a good bug.
I imagine. I've always heard that duplicates are something that you guys come across a lot. Petra, one of our testers, do you ever have any like strategies that you use to combat duplicates?
Well, when I find an issue, I will try to compose the title of it in my mind, and then I will look for the main word of the issue, and then searching for it in the non-issue list. Usually, if it's kind of like a crash in blah blah blah, I will just look for the crash word and then look for the non-issue list, or freeze or stuck. But the one that is usually hard to find is when I'm finding some issue that in a location, same location, but it's a same issue but different location. That is kind of hard to me to find. So because sometimes it's actually have the same concept, but since it was different location, it might be flagged as duplicate. Since it was the same concept, that's why the hard part when searching for issue on the non-issue list. Or other than that, I'm just looking for the title on the list, and I mostly didn't even watch the video unless I'm pretty sure that it might be duplicate. After that, I'm just that's
Awesome.
only what I do.
That's a top tip there. Utilize your search function. Okay, so when the testing window ends for testers and all the bugs are moderated, what happens next? Laurencio, can you give us an insight?
Yeah, this is actually the easiest part most of the time. When we have all the bugs ready and moderated, we just inform the customer about exploratory test being over. And based on each customer, some of them can have like Jira or GitHub or external trackers. We export our bugs from our tracker to their tracker. Also, we add the bugs in our customer portal, our internal customer portal, so the customer can see the bugs, the confirmed bugs in our portal, and from there they can decide which bug they should, I don't know, which bug represents a value for them, like it's worth analyzing or investigating or fixing it.
Well, presenting those to the customer sounds like a big part of it. Bogdan, do you have anything to add on how you present bugs to customers?
Yes, well, this part is one of my favorites because you now have to choose your wrapping paper carefully and decide how you would want to deliver the results. Usually you have automatic export integration with the most common bug trackers, but sometimes we deliver them manually in CSV export. For this step, we need to make sure that the bugs are easy to access and contain all the needed information. This process requires our utmost attention, and while also adding short summary every time of how the project went, what was the number of issues found, if there were any critical bugs, which issues we thought were the most notable ones worth mentioning. They all are included in our delivery process.
Fabulous. Okay. Laurentia, do you want to take us through? I mean, how do you approach an app that's got a huge known issues list that never seems to end?
Yeah, that's an actual pain for any test manager, having a huge or a very long known issues list. But there are two situations. One is when I'm like very upset about it because I have to search a lot in it to find duplicates. And another is when I'm very familiar with the application, like that application was tested before and I was the one who moderated the bugs and I'm very familiar with that bug. And when I end to moderate one, I remember, hey, this bug was reported last cycle, for sure I'll find it in known issues list. But long list of known issues are always a pain, probably for both parts, test managers and testers.
I'm sure, Bogdan, would you agree with that?
And also, just one more thing, it's what's difficult about it is the fact that each tester has his own words of describing a report. So as Putra say, probably you say crash, other testers say freeze, other testers say closes. Each tester has, based on their background, space or their location or their experience in QA, they have their individual way of describing a bug. So it's kind of difficult to find a duplicate when you have multiple ways of reporting it. All of them are correct. It's just how you put it in words, in your own words.
And anything to add?
Well, I'm definitely agreeing with Laurencio. From a moderator's perspective, it is a very difficult process. And as he mentioned, there are so many ways you can write a bug. And I think only by looking at the attachments, you can really figure out if the bug was previously reported or not. So there's much attention to detail needed in performing this task successfully. A solution for this, and something we've done and still doing for some projects, is accepting the duplicate bugs but not sending them as results, and instead update the old ones in the comments sections with a new video, new steps, and a text stating something like, "This issue was also spotted in build X," or something. I believe this adds more value than just marking it as duplicate and then moving on.
Sounds really sensible. Kahio, do you have anything to add about how you as a tester approach a test that's got a really long known issues list?
For me, to avoiding duplicate bug, I need to use the search feature and using a specific keyword, maybe many keyword, location, buttons, and something. And after that, I need to look one by one the title, the summary. After I found the similar one, I read the report and sometimes I watch their video to make sure it's not a duplicate. After that, I will submit my bug and try.
That's very similar to what Laurencio was saying about
Yes.
making sure you check freeze, crash, closed, all those different words. Putra, how about you? How do you approach a test with a long known issues list?
For me, it's same as Tahyo, and also like what Laurencio says, it's a big challenge for me since it's very long and many testers will write many kind of different things. Even though it is a same bug, then that is kind of hard, very hard for me to look for it. Usually, I will for the issue like this. Usually, I will looking for a low severity issue first, and then try to look for it. Even the low severity issue first, even if the low severity issue is also hard to find due to how many issues in it. And sometimes the title is even not clear enough for me to know what is the issue. Therefore, I need to read the description and I need to read the step. I also need to read the video, view the video, and then make sure that it is not a duplicate. But even after doing all of that, like what Chaiho said and Laundry said, after doing all of that, sometimes I still miss something and it will get duplicate. This is so hard to input an issue with a huge non-issue list for me. Thank you.
That must be really annoying when you've spent all that time searching and then you still find a duplicate later.
Very.
I guess we'll kind of flip this issue on its head. We'll actually stay with you, Putra. How do you approach a test if the scope is really small? If they're like, only test the login flow?
Usually, if the scope is very small, I will test using method which is including testing on many device and many OS and many system. Like if it's only a login filter, then I will test in login filter on some of my device and also try to test it with a connection problem and also some case scenario on it. But
that is a top tip if you get a narrow scope, try it on lots of different devices. Kahio, do you have a similar approach if the scope is really narrow?
I think I have the same answer. I usually use many devices if the scope is small, because sometimes the issue can occur on a specific device, especially on low-end device. After that, I do some test case, my own test case, like interrupt the connectivity, minimizing the apps, and many more. Just do as creative as possible.
Awesome, fabulous. Some tips I shall take away here.
Yeah, just a second. I just want to add a tip here. Like you have a very narrow scope. Just try to go backwards. For example, if you have login, or a sign up process, and you have to go from one flow to another. Try to think outside the box and don't go forward. Go backward to see what happens. Probably you're gonna find a valuable bug by just going different than the flow is expected to be. Those are variable bugs in an exploratory test as well.
Right. Don't follow the well-trodden path of just sign up as they want you to. Try and work your way
Yeah,
out. I guess it goes back
exactly.
to what you were saying when we started about breaking the app. See what you can do there. Yeah, Lorenzo, you've actually made this all sound really straightforward and super easy to do. So how does this change, or what happens when you have to deal with a new type of product?
There are always challenges when a new product arrives for us to test. The main challenge for me is to make sure, as a test manager, I have the proper instruction in the test spec. So to prepare testers to create all the setup needed for them to test the application. There are many situations when only mobile applications are in scope, like Android or iOS. But in order for testers to properly test them, we give them access to an admin tool or something like that, and we instruct them how to create content in that admin tool in order for them to have all the setup prepared for the mobile application. So that's a big challenge for me, because I always try to write short instructions, but also not to forget important things. And these type of products are always challenging in the moderation process as well, because, for example, the tester can say that it's a bug in application, but you always have to check in the admin tool to make sure that the tester actually did some work there, which is supposed to be shown in the mobile application, and tester just not forgot to do some setup. So new projects are always challenging.
Bogdan, would you agree with this?
I definitely agree, and I want to add that new product means new project, which means there is no known issues list, which usually means an insane amount of bugs. For these projects, we usually add a message in the test instructions right off the bat that after the, let's say, bug number 100, we're only accepting high and critical bugs, because the numbers usually go that high in a very short amount of time. So in terms of moderation, the new projects have the easiest moderation process, since when releasing a new product, the first step would be to see where you stand from a QA's perspective, and the most frequently used method is by adding the entire application in scope. This means there are no restricted sections, and the testers can explore and test every possible corner.
Wow, Putra, that must be the absolute dream if you're a tester and you get that invite come through.
Yes, for me, that is one thing that will keep me awake at night. New project is awesome. It's a good man for us. After I understanding what is the app for in the tester spec, I will explore everything from footer to header, from customer care link, even chatting, or even if it's also allowed, maybe sometimes I also check external link and also internet. Many kind of testing could be used in it, and it's just sometimes some app that new app will be too great, too many bugs in it that I need to quickly do the check, or it already be 100 bugs in the test in tracker.
Oh wow, Kahio, do you have the same level of excitement when you get those requests come through where they're just like, go at it? It's the whole app is in scope.
Actually, in the new project, sometimes it's easy, a lot of bugs, but sometimes it's hard because sometimes it's a complex project. And for me, if I do that, for me, I need to know the application behavior first before submitting any bug. I do this because I need to avoiding reporting expected behavior issues, and for me, maybe the easiest way is by tapping all the available buttons, and hopefully the app will crash.
I like that. Secretly got your fingers crossed all the way through. Lara, we haven't heard from you for a little while. What's your approach when you get a new project, both from your perspective but also for a tester?
I used to be afraid because I thought that, oh my God, this is new. No one has heard about it. No one will want to test. But just like Putra said, I'm very excited now because I'm lucky to work with a crowd of early adopters. And I've seen in time that a request is the best if it's crazy, new, exciting, challenging. Then testers are also happy to test on it, and like they said, they find new and exciting bugs. So I'm really happy when we have to test something we haven't done before, because I know I can trust the testers to be there.
That sounds amazing, and also a really great note to end on. That is about all we have time for today. First off, I'd like to thank all of our panelists today for their contributions and thoughts on exploratory testing, why it's so valuable, and how you can get the best out of it. And I'm honestly going to take away some of these top tips for the next projects that come through. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you next time.